Hey everybody, this is Mike. Last time we left off, just starting out our web page. So we have a header, we have a couple pages, a home page and an about page. Today what we're going to do is take a look at this header and see if we can add some style to it to make it look a little better. All right, so the first thing I'm going to add is this brand JS. So this is kind of your logo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a logo that I built for me and go ahead and add it in. And it's going to be an SVG. So we'll see what we can do there. And I want to make this just like any other React component. So I'm going to go ahead and do import React from React, export constant brand. And what we're going to return is an SVG. So I'm going to have an SVG tag here. So I'm going to copy the SVG that I have for this logo right in here. So what this is we have a circle. It's an even circle, so it's not an ellipse or anything. We have a group, that's the G tag, and then two paths. And what this is just an M and a B. So now I'm back in the header, and I'm going to import and use that brand logo I just made so we can take a look at it. So I'll import from, and this is in common brand. And it is called brand. So now I can add it to my header by coming down, and I'll put it inside the wrapper. So right here, it's going to be surrounded by a nav link because I want, when you click on it, I want it to go home. And I'm going to give it a class name, nav-brand, so that I can access it to style it a little bit. It's going to go to home, so just a / or a / home. And then inside here, I'll just use my brand component. All right, so let's take a look. So right now, it's taken up a whole lot of room, so we'll need to fix that. And it's also just black. So by default, without me giving it a color to fill in, it's just going to choose black. So we're going to have to fix that as well. All right, so back here in this brand component, what I'm going to do is I need to add some fill attributes to our SVG. So for the circle, I want to add a style, an inline style. And it's going to be style double curly braces, and then inside here we need to pass an object, and the object is going to have the JavaScript version of the style properties. And so for fill, it's just a lowercase fill, and so this will be my secondary color, and then my primary color is going to be my letters. Oh, I don't want it on the path. I can put it on the group and it'll apply to both paths, the M and the B here. And that will be my primary. And so this way, I'll be able to pass in primary and secondary here, primary, secondary, and now the color of my logo can change as I call it. So if I call it in the header and I want it a certain color, maybe with colors, and then maybe later on I call it somewhere else, I just want it black and white, I can do that just by whenever I invoke the component, it will go ahead and fill in whatever colors I pass in with properties, primary and secondary. So let's go take a look at that. So here in the header, I also need to add primary is equal to some value, and secondary is equal to some value. And so in the primary, so for the header, I want the primary, the letters, to be white, and I want the secondary to be a red color, reddish. All right, and so back on the web page, we'll take a look, and you can see the logo is no longer black, it's red, white on red. So white letters on a red background. The next thing we need to take care of is the size of this SVG. So if we inspect it right now, this SVG is taking up a whole lot of room. And so what we need is we need to add a view box to that SVG so that we can size it appropriately. So back here in our brand component, we have our SVG. I want to add a view box property. And when I built this, I made it a 64 by 64 starting at 0. So I just do 0 spaces 0, 0, 64, 64. So now what I can do is I can tell it, oh, I need to spell this right or else it won't work. I can tell the SVG what height and width to be from the style, and the logo will size appropriately. So now let's go ahead and start adding some styled components so that we can make our website look a little better. So the first thing I'll do is add a folder structure. So under components, I'm going to add a new folder, style. Typing's not my strong suit today. There we go. And in here, I want a few different style components. I want the global style again, so global style.js. And that's the one that's going to reset our style sheet, kind of normalize things. We want a nav.js for our header. How about a styled button.js? And that's probably good for now. So let's go and start up our global style. Just like in the previous project we did with the counter component, we want to be able to remove margins, remove padding, set the font, set the background color, that kind of thing. That's what we do here in global style. This is where how with styled components we can affect the body tag, the HTML tag, because we can't wrap the body tag inside of a styled component. It's outside of our root component. And so we have to use this create global style in order to do this. So first thing we need to do is import from styled components. We want create global style. All right. We also want to make sure that it's in our project. I don't think I've added it yet, so let's go and add a new terminal here, and I'll do a yarn add styled components. And with that, I also need React is. All right. So now let's go back to Node, and we should still be running. I need to add an export here. So export a constant called global style. And we're using the create global style that we just imported. All right, and I'm going to start copying some of these things in. So the first thing we do is we remove all padding, margin, border, outline, all the things from all the default tags that we'll use. So we want no margin or padding, any of this stuff. We don't want those properties set by default. And so things like these lists, I think the default is 40 pixels of margin. There's certain margins on the paragraph tags and the header tags. We want to remove all of that, and we'll set it ourselves. The next thing we can do is we can add to HTML tag the border box sizing. So we want the typical border box sizing. And again, this is probably default anyway, but it's a good idea to set it. just in case, right? We'll inherit all the box sizing to all tags, basically. And then for our body, let me copy our body tag in here. We're going to set our font family, and we're using a little bit different font, but it's pretty common through the web. So Helvetica, Roboto, several different tags in here. And again, this will be on the GitHub, so you can get this straight off of here rather than typing all of this in. Font size will be 1 REM, and that's looking at our HTML font size and sizing it based on that. Line height 1.5 by default. Left alignment. Then position relative, min height will be 100% of the height, the view height. Typical font weight 400, and then the background color here. So this is the text color is going to be a dark gray. The background color will be white. All right, and a few other things. So we're going to remove our list bullets. We're going to remove our anchor tag decorations and colors. For images, we're going to add a vertical alignment in the middle. For our headers, we're going to use headers 1 through 4, and by default they'll have a margin, font weight, and line height here. And then let me also import the 4 of those to get their default sizing. So 2.5 REMs down to 1.5 REMs. You can see here I'm using the H1 through H4 tags, but I'm also using our dot class name tag. So I could put dot H1 on something that wasn't an H1. All right, our paragraph tag needs a margin on the bottom input. Our button we need. So there's our button properties. We can add a horizontal line styling, and then let's also do our label. And that'll be good for now. If we need anything else, we can come back and add as we need. So the next thing we want to take a look at is the nav style here. And this is probably what we'll get to and try to make it look good before we wrap up. So we'll do import styled from styled components again. And so this is a little bit different. So before we did create global style, this is to affect the things outside and affect the page as a whole, right? A global style, basically. This is a styled component. We're going to build it off of the styled export. And this is where we can wrap or create divs and other tags. So you can create tags using this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to say export a nav component, and it's going to be a styled nav. And so this will replace the nav we have in our header right now. And so for that header, we want, and I'll go through this a little bit slowly, is width. We're going to set it to 100 so it spans the entire web page. And we want a fixed header, so I'm going to do a position fixed. So when we scroll down, I want the header to say at the top of the page. And so I need to tell it, you're fixed. Well, where are you fixed to? So top is going to be 0, left is going to be 0. I want the height, and I'm going to make line height here 80, because then I can easily set the links into the middle of the line height, and I don't have to worry about margins and things like that as much. So line height is going to be 80 pixels. Basically, it's an 80 pixel header here. And then the color, the background color of my header is going to be a little bit see-through. It's going to be white, but a little see-through. So as we scroll down on top of things, you'll be able to see just a little bit through the header. And so it's 0.95, which is almost completely opaque, just a little bit of translucence. And then I want to add a box shadow to this header. So this is a more simple box shadow, but 0, 4 pixels, 12 pixels, 0, and then the color is going to be black and mostly see-through. All right. I need no space there. All right, so now what I'm going to do, the way I'm going to do it this time is I'm going to have tags under my styled component. So inside the nav styled component, I want to style a nav wrapper. And so where this is our fixed 100% header, inside there I want to change the display to flexbox. So flex. And so that way my branding and my anchors, my links, they'll be spread out in a way that I can control instead of stacked. Or I can make it stacked or direction row, either one. I'm going to add some margin here just to bump it away from the side a little bit. And then I'm going to tell it to align items center. So let's start applying some of these. I'm not finished with this yet, but let's apply these and then we'll see what we're doing a little bit in here. So what I need to do is I need to go and add my global style first. I'm going to go ahead and add it to the app component. So I need to import it. So let's do an import from components, style, global style. And it should be called global style, great. And then I can add it to our already started component here. Global style, you can't wrap, it can't have children. So you don't want to wrap this component in global style. You just want a standalone tag here, a self-closing tag. If you do pass children into it, the children won't render. It just can't have children the way it's set up. So adding that, now if we go and take a look, you can see here we lost our bullets and we lost our margins. So that's exactly what we want to do. The font has changed, so we no longer have serifs. So it looks a little nicer. I need to take care of this guy though. This is a little overwhelming. So let's go ahead and apply our nav component to our header. So I need to import this. So I'll import nav from. I need to back up a folder, and then there it is. And so now this nav is going to take the place of this nav right here. So I'm just going to capitalize the start tag and the end tag. And let's go ahead and add into that nav the brand height and width. So I have a nav brand class name wrapping our brand. And so I need to do height. And I'm just going to make it the same as how I designed it, 64 pixels by 64 pixels. All right, getting a little better. We have, if we think about this, we have the navigation header is taking up the 100%. We can see our box shadow, great. Our content of the page is up under here, so we need to add that nav bumper, and that's fine, we'll do that. But also we have a flex box around these two components. So here is our home brand, and then this is our nav links. We also need to turn our nav links into a flex display. So back here in our nav styled component, I want to add a class name of nav links. And add a margin left of auto, because I want to shoot the links all the way over to the right side of the screen. So if I add a nav left of auto, it's going to add as much space as it needs between the brand and the links there. Then we can do a UL for unordered list, and the display of that is going to be flex. And then for each list item in our unordered list, I'm going to add a margin so they're not bunched up together of 1.5 REM. So that would be 16 and 8, so 24 pixels, right? And I also want to build so that we have the ability here to move our content down below the header. I want to export a nav bumper, is what I call it. Basically, it's just a invisible block with the same size as the header itself. So here, what I'll do is the display is going to be block. It's a styled div, so it's just a div tag. And then the height is going to be 80 pixels, same as our header, and the width will be 100%. So it'll span the entire screen here. All right, so let's go back to the header. We're going to import nav bumper here, nav bumper. And I'm changing this right here to our nav bumper. And this will be the closing. I'll just do a self-closing tag there, and that should work. All right, and then in the header, I need to add one more thing, and that is a wrapper around our links here. We want to add a div, and the class name we used in our styled component was nav-links. Oh, that needs to be string right here, and then the end tag should be right here. All right, so now it's starting to look a little better. We have our logo here. It's dipping a little low, so I'll need to take a look at that. But over here we have our links, and they are still working. I could probably remove the home link now because our icon here will be the home link. But we have about, add post also takes us to about, sign in also takes us to about. So we'll have to build those pages coming up soon. All right, I was looking at that logo, and the reason why it's off-centered, I hadn't put anything, so I was wondering why in the world is it off-centered? It is this tag right here. I'm actually going to remove that for now. I'm going to go back into header. We'll remove the home there. All right, so now we have an about link, an add post link, and a sign in link. One thing I'd like to do is to make that sign in link look like a button instead of a link. So let's go ahead and start that as well. So what I actually want to do is I want to pull it out of the unordered list and make it a sibling basically of that list. So here what we're going to do is we're going to say, I'll just pull it out here. So if I move it here and remove that, then I can send, okay, that's fine for now. I want it to be look like a button. Sign in. All right, and I need to actually, let's see, wrong thing to do. Let's tab that. This needs to go outside of our links here so that it is a sibling. And so now it looks similar. You can slightly see the color is a little different. We need to style our button though. So let's take a look at styling our button real quick. All right, last time I think when I was building this out, I made this a folder. It should not be a folder, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it and add a new file, button.js. And so in here, it's going to be similar to what we built in the last project, the same button. I would re-import it, but I do want to just type it out for you guys. It's going to be styled, so I'm going to have a styled button. So I need to add a style component for it, and that is going to be from that guy that I built down here. We need to add code to that as well, though. So styled button, and then we'll export our button. And the props that it's going to get are click handler, just like last time, message, and button theme. So it's going to take in those, and it's going to return our styled button. And so the properties can be used here. We'll pass in our button theme. We're going to pass in our onClick. And then our message will be here. All right. So back at the header, we need to import our button. So import button from common button, and then we're going to change this to be our component rather than an HTML tag. And it's going to be self-closing, so I don't need this tag and I don't need the contents. And so button theme here, we're going to make an outline theme. So we'll have a default theme probably, and then outline theme. The message will be what it was before, sign in. And then I won't pass a click handler in, and it should work just fine without having that prop. So sign in, and then I'm going to make these single quotes. So now I need to work on my styled button. All right, so if you watched the last project, the counter, we talked about doing a styled component and having different themes. And how we did that is we imported properties in order to switch between themes. And so we're going to do that here as well. So I'm going to have a function called handle theme, button theme. And it's going to be a function that just returns the different things the different properties that I want to change in the button itself. So let's also build out our button. I'm not exporting this handle theme because it's only going to be used by this styled button component. So I'll have export const. This is its actual what we're exporting is a styled button. All right, what I'm going to do is paste in the properties here for this button. And let's go over it a little bit. So we want the cursor to be a pointer when hovering over the button. We don't want the user to be able to select the text inside the button. We have a padding set of 6 and 16, 6 on top and 16 and top and bottom, and then 16 on the sides. The font size is a little bit smaller than 16 pixels. Font weight is 400, line height 1.75, letter spacing, just to give a little bit of equal or a little bit more space between letters. We'll probably do this, let me copy this, because I probably want that on the header links as well. Border radius, a little bit rounded. Color of the text is white, background color is kind of a blue, teal color. The border is transparent. Text align center, vertical line middle, min width 150 pixels. That can actually probably change, maybe 64 as min width. Transition, so easing in and out of the different, whenever any of these change, it'll ease in and out. If you hover, the background color gets darker, and then if you click, a box shadow appears. Again, this will be in the GitHub for you to take advantage of that. Now, let's go ahead and build out our handle theme, and then we'll add these to our styled button. And so in the button itself, what we want to do is, let's say, for example, on the color, we want to add a function call. So I need to tell it I'm adding some JavaScript with the $sign here. And it's going to, we're going to pass in button theme. It's a property, right, of our styled component that we sent in earlier. And we're going to call handle theme, that function up above, and pass in our button theme. And then we want it to return, we're returning a object, and we want the color key of that object, the value of the color key, to come in here. And so we're going to do this for the color. We'll do it for the background color. We'll do it for border, the hover color, and we'll also do the padding. So the outline, we want the padding to be just a tad different. So this will be our padding value. This will be background color. This will be border. And this will be hover background color. And the dot. We want this to be styled. Mistype that, I noticed my error down here. And then up here, we want to go ahead and start, it's just a switch statement. So we're going to switch on our button theme. And based on a set of cases, we'll have, for now, just a case outline is what we want. So that's the button we're after right now, but we also want a default case for what it normally looks like. In both cases, we will do a return here as well. And we're going to build our object. So we'll have background color. Is going to be RGBA. And in this case, I want, for an outline, I want it to be see-through. So the important part is that A parameter, I want it to be 0, so completely see-through. And then hover, when you hover over it, we'll give it a slight shading, so you know that you're over it, I guess. Not for mobile. And then let's do, I'll just start copying these instead and do color is going to be 0.8 to match everything else, I believe. And then border here is going to be 1 pixel solid, and the same color is fine. Finally, padding, I want it just a little bit smaller. 1 pixel on all sides there, not a semicolon. All right, and then the same thing will be the default, just with different parameters. So the default I want, this is actually going to be from an older project, is what I had in there a second ago. So that tealish kind of color, and then a darker version of it for the hover. We're going to do white for the text color. The border will be transparent. And we're going to add a pixel of padding to all sides since we don't have a border. So it'll be the same size button as the one with the border, right? Because a 1 pixel border on all sides up here. All right, the big reveal. Here we are. Great. Oh, that's a little dark. So back in our button here on hover, yes, on hover background for outline, we want it 0.4, not 0.4. All right, so now, oh, much better. Okay, so I hover over it, I click on it, I get the box shadow. Great. If I go home, it's working. It sends me to about in this case, which we'll change later. The header is looking good. We have our box shadow. We have our content pushed down. We'll have to format our content a little bit. Great. I think it turned out really well. So next time what we'll do is I want to make this a little more responsive. So right now, if I hit F12 and come in here, you can see our menu gets a little jumbled. Our header grows quite a bit and overlaps our content. We don't want that. So we'll have to change this. And what we want to do is we want to be able to add, let's say, a menu button over here. So we'll build a menu button, and it will appear when the width of the screen reduces down to some value. And then when you click it, I want a drop-down menu to occur with these three links in there. So that's what we'll take care of next time.